The session, just starting off today's session on strategy for CAT prep, and we are in the next fifth session of this course, and I hope you have been able to formulate a strategy for your previous parts or the previous areas that we have talked about. And as we go ahead, I'll be open to taking questions from you also about strategy. And so the first thing I wanted to talk about today, we will continue with the English part, which I've done partially yesterday. And I talked about the need to raise your ability to read, and basically that's through three dimensions that you need to do it. So when you talk about language preparation or the strategy for language preparation, hi Andrew Akash, welcome. So when you talk about language preparation and the strategy for language preparation, there are two dimensions to it. One dimension to it is improving the language, and the second dimension to language comprehension is going to be to improve your ability to solve accurately. Your ability to solve accurately is going to be the second dimension. Right? So you'll have to go on these two journeys, both these journeys parallelly, when you're doing your CAT prep in the context of verbal and reading comprehension. So language improvement as I mentioned yesterday, there are going to be three different axes on which you will work on your language. One axis is that you will increase the familiarity with topics. So as I mentioned yesterday, there are three dimensions on which your familiarity or unfamiliarity, on which the quality of your understanding depends. Hi Anil, welcome to the class session. So one is the familiarity of the topic. The second is the complexity of the language in the topic. Complexity of language. And the third is the length of sentence. So when you're trying to improve your ability in language, you have to make sure that you work on each of these three axes. So language complexity will be handled on three levels. One level will be improving your vocabulary. So when you do vocabulary, don't do it from a dictionary or word list or a non-standard word list. What you should do, in fact, we have given this in our verbal book. You should do high frequency words, which is like LOD1 of vocabulary. That these are words which are used everywhere. Medium frequency words, these are words that are used less frequently, but they are still quite often used. And then low frequency words. So normally, if you do the high frequency and medium frequency words, you will be done with around 80 to 90% of the language you will face in most of your CAT passages. CAT passages will not go too much into low frequency words, but just doing the vocabulary will not be sufficient to improve the quality of your understanding of language. The other part, I'm talking about tackling the complexity of language issue. I'm talking about tackling the complexity of language. As you remember, if the complexity of the passage goes up, the difficulty level of the passage goes up. So complexity of the language in a passage can be from high to low, and accordingly the difficulty level of the passage is higher at top and lower at bottom. Likewise, the length of sentence can be short. There could be an author who's writing short sentences, and they can be long. And the longer the sentence is, the more difficult it becomes to grasp. This is more difficult and this is less difficult. And the third dimension is the familiarity with the topic, which is completely your own angle. So complexity of language, length of sentence. I'm sorry, I wrote it on that side. So I'll just redraw this part. So as I said, what I was saying was लैंग्वेज इम्प्रूवमेंट का दो पार्ट्स में तुम्हारा काम चलेगा, और एक लैंग्वेज इम्प्रूवमेंट होगा और दूसरा फिर सॉल्विंग इम्प्रूवमेंट होगा, और लैंग्वेज इम्प्रूवमेंट कर लोगे तो सॉल्विंग इम्प्रूवमेंट अपने आप हो जाएगा. दिस वाज द रीजन आई वाज टॉकिंग टू यू अबाउट द स्टोरी दैट I was talking to you about yesterday about my own attempts at the CAT in terms of English. So what you should do for complexity of language improvement, or the ability to handle more complex language, the first thing is you should be focusing on vocabulary, and not conventionally, but through high, medium, and low frequency words, and also use apart from wordless, also use the thesaurus for wordless, for improving your ability to communicate through various words for the same thing. So if you look at, for instance, what is the use of thesaurus? The thesaurus is a dictionary of antonyms and synonyms. So if you look at the thesaurus, what will happen is you'll get, for every word, for every expression, for every emotion, for every description that language is used to describe, you will get multiple words, right from high frequency to medium frequency to low frequency at one go. So if you look at, let's say, the thesaurus, antonyms and synonyms for anger or angry, you'll get some very high frequency words, some medium frequency words, and some low frequency words. So it's a good idea to go through the thesaurus also along with your this thing. So you find a word here and you look at the thesaurus, and essentially the memorization of words should not happen by trying to memorize all the wordless, but the memorization of words should happen by usage. So you should try to bring these stuff into usage. You should try to bring this stuff into your own vocabulary, or your commonly used phrases, and that is how it'll improve. There's absolutely no rocket science in improving your English. The second part of complexity, of being able to improve your handling of complexity of the language, is going to be idioms and phrases. Idioms, phrases, and phrasal verbs. So English has a lot of these, where the net sum, an idiom or a phrase में क्या होता है, the net sum of the words is not equal to the meaning of this thing. So for example, if you take an idiom like alive and kicking, so there is a certain usage for it. It has got its own usage. Now alive, you might know the vocabulary of alive, and you might know the vocabulary or the meaning of kicking. But alive and kicking does not mean that you get alive and kicking together. It's very similar to Hindi. Hindi में जैसे for example, when you make a statement which says ऊंट पहाड़ के नीचे, that does not mean कि there's a camel below the mountain, right? या वो मेरा कान काट रहा था. Does not mean that somebody is cutting your ear, or somebody is biting your ear. So the meaning of the individual words does not add up to the word in idioms and phrases. And phrasal verbs are specific uses in English, which are the only right way to talk about. Right? So for example, with the word hand, some actions that can be described are hand over, hand out. But something like hand in, for example, does not work. So this is something you have to know. Hand out works, hand over works, hands free works. There's so many uses with this word that are natural. So you need to discover that in the language, right? And that only comes from usage. So these are three things that you focus on. I mean, vocabulary, and the second, idioms, phrases, and phrasal verbs. So these are three things that you focus on learning, on trying to read again and again, or memorization. Best way to memorize is to repeat. Right? best way to memorize is to repeat. The more repetitions you do, the better you become, or the more you'll get reminded of it. Don't try to sit and try to put it into your mind in one day, because if you try to do that, it's going to be frustrating for you. सो कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी को ये दोनों चीज़ हैंडल करेगा, तुम फिर क्या होगा, यू विल नॉट गेट स्टक बिकॉज ऑफ लैक ऑफ नॉलेज ऑफ वर्ड्स, और मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम्स बहुत बार कॉन्टेक्चुअल मीनिंग तुम वर्ड्स का, इवन इफ यू डोंट नो द एग्जैक्ट वर्ड, यू विल बी एबल टू टेक आउट द कॉन्टेक्चुअल मीनिंग ऑफ द वर्ड. सो दिस इज समथिंग यू नीड टू स्पेंड टाइम ऑन इन इंग्लिश, राइट? Then familiarizing yourself with topics. So when there's an article or a passage in the exam, there can be only two things with you, two ends of the spectrum. Either you are familiar with the topic or you are not familiar with the topic. इसके बीच में तो कुछ है नहीं. There's nothing in between. These are two ends of the spectrum. ठीक है, of course you can be little familiar and you can be more unfamiliar. So that spectrum is there, definitely, between familiarity and unfamiliarity. The spectrum does exist, but essentially, if you take a list, make a list of last 25 years of CAT papers and ZAT papers and IFT papers, and try to look at the topics on which passages and paragraphs are commonly asked, you'll find a lot of you'll find a lot of sociology, philosophy, you'll find economics, business, you'll find management theories, you'll find technology, you'll find biomedical sciences. You'll find a lot of biology and biomedical sciences. You'll find environment. You'll find a spectrum of issues. You'll find art and culture. You'll find psychology. You'll find a variety of subjects there. So the best way to prepare for most of these subjects is to try to actually read up about these. So what you do is, if you're unfamiliar with the topic, the journey from being unfamiliar to being familiar enough so that you can read and understand it would be a journey of maybe 50 to 100 passages on that topic. So suppose तुमको टेक्नोलॉजी रिलेटेड आर्टिकल्स में दिक्कत होता है, तुम 50-100 आर्टिकल उठा के पढ़ो, read technology blogs, read technology, follow technology articles or editorials that are asked in newspaper, that are given in various magazines and newspapers, right? Find those kind of articles, read them, right? Follow the top magazines, follow the top newspapers, and whenever you get an article on technology, so if you are trying to sort out your issue of ability to understand technology driven articles, or for example biology driven articles, biology and medicine driven articles, उसमें दिक्कत हो रहा है समझने में, तो find out, do 200 passages, you'll automatically get better at it, and your familiarity with the topic will go up. And when familiarity with the topic goes up, even if the complexity is high and the sentences are long, even with this, you will still be able to understand it. Now, of course, while taking the exam, if you don't understand a passage, you should leave it. Or if you find that you have come across a passage which is low on familiarity, ideally वो ऐसा होना नहीं चाहिए, तुम्हारे प्रिपरेशन में कवर हो जाना चाहिए. But अगर ऐसा हो जाता है in the exam, then you should obviously leave it, Rishabh. There's no point beating your head inside the exam. But your preparation has to be such that those things don't happen. ठीक है? Those things you have to avoid. That's how your preparation should be. And then the ability to read long sentences is again an important aspect or important part of your preparation. And for that, I suggest that you start start doing maybe 10 to 15 minutes of articles. See, and it's also important to understand that comprehension कैसे improve करता है. तो comprehension starts at the sentence comprehension level. Once you can identify or understand sentences, and you can understand complex sentences on unfamiliar topics, you start becoming better at it. तो सेंटेंस का कॉम्प्रिहेंशन एबिलिटी तुमको इम्प्रूव करना होगा. और अगर तुम सेंटेंसेस समझ सकते हो, you'll have to improve your sentence comprehension ability. That's one of the targets that you should give yourself. And if you can understand sentences, then you can understand paragraphs, because paras are a group of sentences. अगर तुम सेंटेंस नहीं समझ सकते हो तो तुम पैरा नहीं समझ सकते हो. But if you can understand sentences, then you can understand sentences even if the language becomes long, the length becomes long, the language is complex, and the familiarity is low. When all these three factors are going against you, अगर तुम उस लेवल पे भी सेंटेंसेस समझने का प्रैक्टिस किए हुए हो तो तुम किसी भी लेवल का पैराग्राफ समझ लोगे. और पैराग्राफ समझ लोगे because paragraph is a group of sentences. You group 5 sentences, it becomes a paragraph. You group 5-7 sentences on one topic, one issue, one communication, it becomes a paragraph. You group a paragraph, you group a few paragraphs, and becomes a passage. You group a few passages, and it becomes a chapter. You group a few chapters, and it becomes a book. So for CAT, the upper limit is just passage. This is the upper limit. You don't need to go into chapters and books. So as far as you can understand till this point, as far as you can take your understanding to this point, and obviously if you can understand passages, you can understand chapters, and you can understand, if you understand chapters, you can understand books. That's how it goes. तो तुमको अपने सेंटेंस लेवल अंडरस्टैंडिंग से स्टार्ट करना पड़ेगा. तो एक एक्सरसाइज जो मैं बोलता हूँ उसके लिए, one exercise which I suggest to people for that is that you go into quotations websites. तुम quotation websites में जाओ. Let me just show you. Let's say I go to any quotations websites. And I go to the first Google search I get. So what happens is this gives me an experience of, I don't know what the topic is. Every sentence is a different topic. And of course it's good reading also. ठीक है? It's good reading also. And you will get a variety of topics and a variety of complexity of language. So the most difficult thing is the decision to act. The rest is merely tenacity. The fears are paper tigers. You can do anything you decide to do. You can act to change and control your life. And the process is its own reward. ठीक है? Do not mind anything that anyone tells you about anyone. Judge everyone and everything for yourself. So what happens is you will get a variety. And then you can go into topics. Suppose I click the topics, this thing. Let's say I go into science. Right? I get various Louis Pasteur's statement. Science knows no country because knowledge belongs to humanity and is the torch which illuminates the world. So if you see this, the quality of reading you are doing is much superior than the reading that you will do on a Times of India or Hindustan Times. Not saying that you should not read those things, but you can see that you're connecting to the most refined thoughts of the greatest people in the world. A scientific truth does not triumph by convincing its opponents and making them see the light, but rather because the opponents eventually die and a new generation grows up that is familiar with it, which is so profound in its content, in terms of what it is saying. So what happens is, तुम science के 20-25 spend 5-7 minutes on science, then you change the topic, go into let's say something completely different. Let's say I want to go into, can I find something? Okay, let's say I go into religion, and I go into religion and I start reading. So this will be very philosophical, this area. So I read 5 minutes on this, then I go into, let's say, art, and I go on and read 5-10 minutes on this. Right. So what happens is I get practice when I do this. I get practice of reading the sentence level inside out. I get extensive practice of reading at the sentence level. और मेरा sentence level अगर sort out हो गया तो 5-6 सेंटेंस का ग्रुप होगा, सेंटेंस का आइडिया मैं निकाल सकता हूँ. और कोटेशन इतना इंपॉर्टेंट इसलिए हो जाता है बिकॉज इन कोटेशन व्हाट हैज टू हैपन, सी इफ आई एम राइटिंग अ पैराग्राफ आई नीड नॉट कंप्लीट एन आइडिया in one sentence. If this is sentence 1, I can carry on the idea to sentence 2, I can carry the idea to sentence 3, 4, 5 and 6. And I can make sure that my idea is communicated by the end of the paragraph. But when it's a quotation, if I'm finishing a quotation 15 words, I have to complete the idea in that time. So that's why there's much more punch in a quotation. And you should do this. 10 minutes, 15 minutes of this is enough. So Khushi is asking, the problem is that I can read fast but comprehension becomes difficult then and vice versa. Yeah, so fast reading is not an important issue. Reading without comprehension does not mean reading at all. Reading always has to be with comprehension. Right? So for example, when I do the English paper in the CAT, I finish it in not 40-45 minutes. I finish all the RCs and all the verbal in 45-50 minutes max. That's because I can read with comprehension in that time. So don't bother about increasing speed. You increase your speed with 100% comprehension. So reading speed is meant at 100% comprehension. So of course there's nothing called 100% comprehension, but as close as it you can get. So if you increase your speed and your comprehension becomes 70%, then this is not an increased speed. It is like I can drive fast but लेकिन accident हो जाता है. So does that mean you can drive fast? I end up killing 5 people every day I drive fast. तो इसका क्या मतलब है? Can you drive fast or no? It means that you can't. It's plain and simple. ठीक है. So ये angles से तुम लोगों को काम करना होगा इंग्लिश में. और उसके बाद along with that language के लिए the other part strategy will be solving. So for solving, your logic should be and solving it is not about blindly doing more and more questions. I mean RC ठीक करना है 50 RC 50-75 50 to 75 RCs is enough. You don't need to do 500 RCs. So you need to see whether by doing the RCs your accuracy is going up, and you need to do a lot of analysis of every answer that you're giving. So ideally what you should do is once you finish solving a set of comprehension, you should not go and jump into the answers directly कि मेरा आंसर सही ही गलत है. तुम उस सेट पे एक बार पढ़ने के बाद सॉल्व कर लो, आंसर्स अपना मार्क कर लो, then maybe 2-3 hours later come back to the same RC passage and look at each of the questions and try to see whether you'll stick with the same answers or not. तो तुम्हारे मन में डाउट क्या आ रहा है वो रिजॉल्व होगा, वो एटलीस्ट आइडेंटिफाई तो होगा. जब तक तुम्हारे मन का डाउट तुम आइडेंटिफाई नहीं कर पा रहे हो तब तक तुम योर सॉल्विंग विल बी कम्प्लीटली डाउट रिडन, एंड इफ द सॉल्विंग इज डाउट रिडन द चांसेस दैट यू विल गेट द आंसर्स करेक्ट इज गोइंग टू बी ऑलमोस्ट जीरो. राइट, सो दिस इज गोइंग टू बी योर प्रोसेस. So just make sure that you do maybe your target should be around 200 reading comprehension sets, but parallel to the language improvement. Once you get to the point where you realize और उसमें कैसे करना चाहिए, I mentioned that yesterday. Somebody is asking me, Rishabh is asking me, I'm from Hindi medium and now start reading on daily basis if you don't understand articles. So basically, as I said, Suppose तुम्हारा comprehension level ये level है. This is the level at which you can comprehend 100%. And then there are levels above it. There are levels of comprehension. As one of the three axes keeps changing, your degree of difficulty of the comprehension keeps going up. So there are two ways to improve your ability at understanding language. One method is that you go incremental. कि इस लेवल पे मैं कंफर्टेबल हूँ, इसके एक लेवल ऊपर का लैंग्वेज उठाता हूँ. And I spent 3 weeks on this. 2-3 weeks on this. When I spend 2-3 weeks on this level of reading, I'll automatically become better at it. So you then move to the next level of reading. So keep going incremental. So what happens is 3 weeks each, तो 15 to 18 weeks में 5-6 levels ऊपर पहुंच जाओगे तुम. You'll be at this level of understanding. और CAT मान लो requires around this level of understanding only. तो ये 5-6 months का game है if you spend 3 weeks. This is strategy 1 of improving your comprehension. Strategy 2 of improving comprehension is तुम्हारा level यहाँ पे, तुम डायरेक्टली इस लेवल पे जंप कर जाओ. स्टार्ट रीडिंग दिस, डोंट गो इंक्रीमेंटल, स्टार्ट डूइंग दिस. दिस वेयर आई वाज गिविंग द एनालॉजी यस्टरडे कि इफ यू वांट टू बिकम अ क्रिकेट प्लेयर, यू वांट टू बिकम अ क्रिकेट बैट्समैन, और तुम्हारे पास दो ऑप्शन है कि तुम 100 किलोमीटर्स पर आवर के बॉल से कंफर्टेबल हो, यू आर कंफर्टेबल विद द 100 किलोमीटर्स पर आवर बॉल, you're comfortable with it, but you want to face a 160 kilometers per hour ball. This is your target, इसको मैं खेल सकूँ. तो one strategy to improve your reflexes and reactions to faster bowling is to keep going up on this chart. कि अपने bowling machine को 110 पे set करो, फिर 120 पे set करो, keep going that way till you can set it at 150, 160. So incremental 110, 120 पे पहले comfortable हो जाओ. तुम्हारा comfort level ये है, ये level of discomfort है, तो level of discomfort पे practice करो पहले. Do it for as long as it takes till this becomes comfortable, and then you raise the bar a little bit more. So this is the incremental strategy. The other strategy is कि 100 तुम comfortable हो, 160 के सामने रोज जाके खड़े हो जाओ. तो फर्स्ट फ्यू डेज you'll get hit badly, you'll not understand anything what's happening. लेकिन अगर रोज जाते हो तुम, you go to the nets every day and keep facing 160 kilometers per hour bowling, and you give yourself no option. You don't come back to 100. You give yourself no option. ये तो करना ही है मेरे को. I'm giving myself no option. तो क्या होगा? 10th day, 15th day के अंदर, 10 day, 15 day के अंदर, you will start understanding what's happening to the ball. उनको बॉल दिखने लगेगा. और 25th डे तक क्या हो जाएगा, 40th डे तक क्या हो जाएगा, 100 डेज के बाद क्या होगा, you'll be able to hit the ball and play it with skill. So ये strategy 2 will always be faster in its outcomes. And since no real life blood is involved here, the only blood involved here is that तुमको समझ में नहीं आया क्या लिखा था, तुमको 30% ही समझ में आया, but you keep going to that level, automatically तुम्हारा skills improve कर जाएगा. You'll be able to face 160 kilometers per hour bowling. You'll be able to face the highest level of language there is at the CAT level. Right, so that's about it for me from today. Just wanted to mention my promo code to you. Arun.yt is the promo code, and you can join Unacademy Plus to access my live plus classes. You have subscriptions for 3 months, 1 month, 6 months, 12 months, 24 months. This is the promo code which you'll have to use to get a 10% offer, 10% off on the existing fees. You'll get a 10% off on the existing fees if you use this promo code while रजिस्टरिंग एंड एनरोलिंग। और मेरे जो थैंक्स ऋषभ, थैंक्स फॉर अप्रिशिएटिंग द क्वांट्स बुक। मेरी वर्बल बुक भी है मीनाक्षी मैम के साथ, शी इज ऑल्सो देयर ऑन अकेडमी प्लस, यू विल गेट हर सेशंस ऑल्सो। सो डोंट फॉरगेट टू यूज दैट प्रोमो कोड टू गेट a 10% डिस्काउंट। मेरा जो अपकमिंग कोर्स है, एक फाउंडेशन कोर्स इन LR आ रहा है जून में, और एक एडवांस कोर्स इन DI आ रहा है। ये दो कोर्सेज मेरे आ रहे हैं जून में ऑन एन अकेडमी प्लस, एंड यू कैन गेट एक्सेस टू दीज थ्रू जून। एंड जुलाई में ऑफ कोर्स लेटर कोर्सेज will be advanced course in LR, then foundation course in DI, etc. So क्या करता रहेगा, टेस्ट सीरीज का एक कोर्स, टेस्ट टेकिंग का एक कोर्स रहेगा, etc. So and then there'll be courses coming up in September, October, November about that decision making, IFT special course, etc. तो वो सब आता रहेगा मेरी तरफ से। ये सब सेशन, सब कोर्सेज मेरे हैं, ठीक है। तो obviously I'll be teaching those courses for you, right? So I look forward to having you. Just reminding you, this is the promo code arun.yt. Use that to get your discount. Thank you so much. I'll wind up now. Bye bye.